Not knowing the right methods to memorize and recall can be extremely detrimental. It can keep you an illusion of having learned everything well, but can cost you when you actually need to recall the required information, causing frustration and sometimes even reputation damage. Imagine yourself preparing extremely hard for a particular examination or an interview or a presentation, only to end up getting blanked during the actual scenario. It can be a hard feeling. And if you're someone who's actually facing that, then it's high time to optimize, tune, and train your brain to improve your memory, focus, and recall. And as a professional memorizer and a 15-time Indian memory champion, I'll be sharing some brain training protocols that can help you in boosting your memory, focus, and recall. And this is not some theoretical stuff. This is something that I've been using for more than a decade now as a professional memorizer to memorize huge amount of data points at the World Memory Championships. So, we all have an amazing natural capacity to memorize information organically, but only if we do it the right way. And the right way is by testing yourself or putting yourself in a testing environment or going into execution mode. That is how you learn real life skills, and that is how you learn at a deeper level. Now, for instance, let's say if you want to learn how to drive a car, you can't simply learn just by reading a manual on it or just by watching a video. You might get some theoretical knowledge related to it, but in order to truly ingrain that skill, you got to put yourself out there, get onto the driver's seat, and start driving the car, start getting into the execution stage. So when you drive the car, all the instructions that you've tried to learn from that video or from that manual, you will have to ultimately force yourself to recall that information. Yeah. So you will learn when to press clutch and brake together, when to shift gears, right? How to maneuver the car. And this is how you really learn real life skills. Now, how you can use this fundamental strategy to memorize anything from your textbooks and how I used this to break a world record, I will be explaining it to you in the upcoming slide. Hi, I'm Prateek Yadav. I am currently a 15-time Indian memory champion. I participate in national and international level memory competitions where I memorize tons and tons of data points. I became the Asia Memory Champion in 2018. I'm an international Grandmaster of Memory. I currently hold 18 Indian and 3 world records. I also became the world number one memory athlete in 2019. And some of the memorization feats that I have achieved at various competitions include memorizing a sequence of randomly generated 4,929 binary digits within just 30 minutes, a sequence of 2,424 random digits within just 60 minutes, and 154 dates in just 5 minutes, which is a world record, to name a few. And this was all possible by learning the right memorization systems and consistently practicing them. So this was the world record that I had broken in the 2019 World Memory Championship, where I memorized a sequence of 335 random words within just 15 minutes. So how does it look like? So this is a sample sheet of that event. We are given 15 minutes to memorize the sequence of all these words. So there are multiple columns and each column contain a sequence of 20 words and we are supposed to memorize all of them sequentially. And the rules are very strict. If you get one mistake in a column, you get half marks. If you get two mistakes, you get a zero for that particular column. Doesn't matter whether the rest 18 are correct. So you have to be very precise and accurate, and at the same time, you have to be very fast as well. Now, how I managed to do it, I will be explaining one of the foundational steps in the next slides. There is a three-step process that you can follow to never struggle while recalling any information and to take your memory to the next level. What are those? The first one is retrieval practice and active recall. Now, you might have heard about it in the past, but I will give you a practical implementation of it and how do you actually apply it in your learning material. Now, after this comes the second step, which is frequent and periodic retrieval practice, a step that a lot of people miss out on, and that's why they don't see tangible results. And the third one is shadow recall, which is going to ensure that the entire information recalling process turns into a muscle memory, and you can eventually recall the information smoothly when the actual scenario arrives. So, this is a big mistake that is hurting your memory and recall. And I have seen a lot of people, what they do is they will apply repeated passive learning or reading with no testing process in picture. Yeah. So when you read something over and over again passively, it somehow creates an illusion of deep learning, but in reality, you're just building familiarity with that topic. You're not learning at a deeper level. And that is the reason why you fail to recall information when it is actually required. So, what you should be doing instead, you should be following retrieval practice. As it is clear and evident from the name itself, you have to retrieve the information once you've read and learned it from somewhere. And in the retrieval practice, there are multiple ways of doing it. Let's assume you've read a particular paragraph, and after reading it, just stop there for a while, close your book, and try to mentally rehearse or try to mentally recall the information as much as possible to the best of your ability. Or you can take a quiz on it, or you can teach that topic to someone else, or if you are someone who like to take notes, so you can take notes without looking at your material. And why retrieval practice should be done. So, if you look at scientifically, just imagine what do you do on the examination day or when you're supposed to give a presentation or an interview. You're basically forced to recall the information, isn't it? So, that means on the given day, your ability to retrieve the information is going to be tested. So, why not practice it consistently? So, that is the main reason, main premise behind retrieval practice. Now, pro tip, instead of reading over and over again passively, read less, test more. That is how you learn at a deeper level. Read again only to either clear your concepts or to fill your gaps. That is how you will be able to retain the information really well organically. Now comes the second stage, which is known as frequent or periodic retrieval practice. And this is the step many learners miss, and that's why they don't see tangible results and keep on running behind fancy memorization techniques. Now, doing active recall or retrieval practice once would help you in taking that information into your working memory. But in order to retain it for a long time, you have to ensure that in every revision iteration you are incorporating retrieval practice. So whenever you revise, you have to make sure that you are always testing yourself. Testing only once is not going to do the job. Whenever you test yourself, there are two things that are going to happen. First, it's going to consolidate whatever you have learned and going to strengthen your neural connections. And apart from it, it is also going to help you in identifying your gaps. And this second step actually helped me in breaking that world record. So if you notice in this sample sheet, after encoding all the data points, I did not look at the sheet and instead tried to mentally rehearse and mentally recall all the information, all the words step by step. And while doing so, I was not only consolidating whatever I had learned, but I also managed to figure out my gaps in various columns. And then I can accordingly read that and consolidate that information. And that helped me in ensuring 100% recall. So, this is something that you can also incorporate while learning things. So, in a nutshell, when you test yourself, you force your brain to focus, recall, guess, and anticipate information, which ultimately boosts your memory, focus, and recall organically. And in the long run, your number of revisions get reduced drastically, which saves plenty of your time. Yeah. So, from now onwards, instead of just reading passively over and over again, test yourself more and figure out your gaps and fill those gaps accordingly. That's how you learn really well organically. Comes the third step, which I like to call as shadow recall. So, in shadow recall, you try to simulate the actual scenario in which you'd be forced to recall the information. So, usually, when you go to the examination or when you're about to deliver the presentation, because of the nervousness, sometimes you get blank or you fail to deliver the information or there's no smoothness in the way you deliver the information. So how to ensure that this doesn't happen with you? So let's say if you are appearing for an exam, pick a few mock tests or mock papers and try to solve the mock papers in the actual time limit. So let's say if you have a 2-hour exam, so you try to solve all the questions in that 2-hour limit. Likewise, if you have to deliver a presentation, so at your home, you can just try to deliver a presentation, try to recall as many points as possible, as many dimensions as possible. And these are the three steps that you should be following in tandem to encode, consolidate, and recall the information flawlessly. Now, there is a pro suggestion, which is consistency. You have to make sure that you allow the compounding to work for you. You've been studying and learning in a certain fashion for so many years now, and for some of you, it can be a little tricky to adjust to a newer method. However, if you do it consistently for a few weeks, you will see the magic of testing yourself and you will see the information would start sticking better. And now I have a task for you. So just pick 5 random paragraphs from your study material and try to read two in one go, then test yourself on those and fix the gaps accordingly. And then you repeat it for the next 3 paragraphs as well. And you will see that the information starts sticking so well in your very first iteration. So this was all about this training. I hope all of you liked it. And also, if you're an executive, working professional, or an entrepreneur who would want to get trained directly by me, you can simply apply by clicking on the link below. You can get on a call with me, and I will see you there. And thank you very much once again for watching this training. I will be back with another training soon.